So coming off the heels of the Supreme Court's recent ruling in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruin, a bill has been introduced into Congress to create national concealed carry reciprocity. So let's talk about this. But real quick before we jump into this video, if you believe your rights don't disappear at invisible borders, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. Also, I want to mention that if you would like to support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to buy channel merch. We have this shirt available in 2 different colors, and then we have 2 other designs as well. So buying channel merch is one of the best ways to support the channel. I did these shirts in collaboration with Bunker Branding, and a lot of you guys know that that is the company owned by Matt from Demolition Ranch. So I'm really happy with the designs. I hope a lot of you guys enjoyed them. And again, if you'd like to support the channel, that's one of the best ways to do it. And I left a link to the channel merch down in the details section. So like I said in the intro, a new bill has been introduced into Congress, which aims to create national concealed carry reciprocity. This bill comes off the heels of the Supreme Court's recent ruling in New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruin, which struck down all may issue schemes and instead established shall issue as the minimum standard within the US. A major aspect of that decision was that it removed the ability of states to use subjective standards to determine whether or not someone is qualified to carry a concealed weapon. Because of this decision, the baseline standard for concealed carry in the US is now supposed to be shall issue, but now we see states like New York and California who are trying to circumvent this ruling and are directly defying what the Supreme Court said and still trying to uphold some form of subjective permitting systems. Now, for those who don't understand what the different permitting systems are, let me just explain real quick. In the US, there are really 3 main ones, and then there's also open carry, but we're not going to really talk about open carry in this video. The first one is may issue schemes. May issue states are states in the US which are given discretion by their legislators on when, how, and to who they grant concealed carry permits to. This type of scheme is what was just found unconstitutional in Bruin because it has this subjective standard where discretion is 100% up to the agency to determine whether or not you are qualified to get a permit or not. In contrast is the shall issue states. In shall issue states, if you meet all the objective requirements that are set out, then you shall be given a license. There is no subjective or discretion given to the agency. If you meet the requirements, which are objective requirements, just says you pay this fee, you do X, Y, and Z, you're not a prohibited person. If you meet these requirements, then we must give you a permit. That is shall issue. In a constitutional carry state, the state legislature has established that as long as a person is not a prohibited person, the person does not need to have a permit to carry concealed. There may still be some restrictions under the law on where a person can carry, like not in bars or in federal or state buildings, but generally the residents of the state are permitted to carry concealed without needing a permit. These states may still have a permit process or a permit available to residents, but often that is done for reciprocity purposes or is simply just a carryover from the permitting process that they already had in place before they instituted constitutional carry. Now, one of the big questions coming out of the Bruin decision was what is going to happen now that all these states are required to be shall issue, and now that shall issue is the baseline standard. What happens with concealed carry reciprocity? One of the big issues with concealed carry permitting in general is that some states refuse to recognize other states' concealed carry permits and makes it a crime for someone who is an out-of-state visitor to come to a state and concealed carry in that state under their own state's permitting system. Well, this bill, which was introduced, seeks to fix that very problem. The bill is titled the Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act, and it was introduced by Senator Steve Daines out of Montana. In his press release on the bill, he stated, "The right to keep and bear arms is guaranteed under our Constitution. No state should be able to take that right away. My bill would ensure that every state honors Montana's right to self-defense and the Second Amendment through concealed carry reciprocity." So what does the text of this bill say it's going to do? Well, it states, notwithstanding any provisions of the law or any state or political subdivision thereof, and subject only to the requirements of this section, a person who is not prohibited by federal law from possessing, transporting, shipping, or receiving a firearm, who is carrying a valid identification document containing a photograph of the person, or who is carrying a valid license or permit which is issued pursuant to the law of a state and which permits the person to carry a concealed firearm or is entitled to carry a concealed firearm in the state in which the person resides, may possess or carry a concealed handgun other than a machine gun or destructive device that has been shipped or transported in interstate or foreign commerce in any state that 1. Has a statute under which residents of the state may apply for a license or permit to carry a concealed firearm, or 2. Does not prohibit the carrying of concealed firearms by residents of the state for lawful purposes. So what does that all mean? Well, under this bill, the only thing that will be required for you to carry concealed in another state is some sort of proof that you are legally carrying in a way that you would in your own state. So if you have a valid state ID and your own state is a constitutional carry state, then you could visit other states that maybe aren't, but still be able to concealed carry under pretty much your own state laws in a different state. Or the other option is for you to simply have a valid concealed carry permit that was issued to you by your own state. If you have either of those, under this bill, you would be able to travel to any state and lawfully concealed carry. That would include even liberal states like New York and California, who maybe would want to restrict your ability to concealed carry and currently do restrict your ability to concealed carry if you're an out-of-state resident, but this would completely change all of that. The bill goes on to state any person who carries or possesses a concealed handgun in accordance with subsections A or B may not be arrested or otherwise detained for violation of any law or any rule or regulation of state or any political subdivision thereof related to the possession, transportation, or carrying of firearms, unless there is probable cause to believe that the person is doing so in a manner not provided for by this section. Presentation of facially valid documents as specified in subsection A is prima facie evidence that the individual has a license or permit as required by this section. So under this bill, if you are pulled over by someone, pulled over by a police officer, or come into contact with police, and they find out maybe you are concealed carrying, they cannot arrest you, they cannot detain you, they cannot try to charge you with any state violations of transporting firearms or concealed carrying in violation of a state law, as long as you have a valid state ID if your state is a concealed carry state, or you have an out-of-state carry permit. That is pretty much all you would need, and they have to let you go. Another important thing that's included in this bill is the fact that the term handgun includes any magazine for the use in a handgun and any ammunition loaded in the handgun or its magazine. Why did they include that? That's pretty much so that you could also carry magazines that you would traditionally carry in your own state. So if your state laws say that you can possess and carry standard magazines, i.e. 11 plus round magazines, and maybe your state doesn't have a magazine capacity restriction like the state of California, well, you would still be able to carry your own magazines in that state because your state laws cover those. They say that you can carry them. And then this national bill says that that is included in this whole handgun definition. So like I said, this bill is important post the Supreme Court decision in Bruin because now that all these states must move towards shall issue regimes, the question is how will this whole reciprocity issue work going forward? Likely you will have states like California and New York try to isolate their concealed carry permit recognition to only state residents and state permits, which still puts many people who visit these states at risk of not getting to exercise their rights to keep and bear arms within a state. Now, as Congress sits right now, I don't see this getting a whole lot of traction, but there is some belief that we're going to see a huge red wave really soon in the House and the Senate, and maybe even enough to override a presidential veto. So it's good that this was introduced. It's good that this issue is being addressed at some level. But really, I think in the meantime, while we're kind of waiting to see how Congress shakes out, I think a lot of state level legislation is going to need to address this national concealed carry reciprocity issue, and also maybe even some lawsuits against states who refuse to recognize other state permits. I think under the recent Bruin decision, there is a lot more valid arguments and strong arguments we can make against a state that doesn't recognize a different state's concealed carry permitting system. So I think really at the state level and also lawsuit level is where we're going to make a lot of headwind, but I still appreciate that this bill was introduced and we're having this discussion about where does national concealed carry reciprocity go from here because of the Supreme Court's recent ruling. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and comment down below and I'll try to answer the best of my ability. Also, if you like this video and like support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to like, comment, and subscribe. All those things help to fuel the algorithm or fuel Al Gore's rhythm. It adds fuel to his jet and it signals to YouTube that you guys see value in these videos and in this type of two-way news. Again, I want to thank everybody who likes, comments, subscribes, who hits the notification bell, who shares these videos. You guys are directly impacting these videos, impacting this channel, and helping me to reach and educate more people than I could ever do on my own. So again, thank you so much for all of your support. And as always, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And never forget, this is with Built by Armed Scholars, and this nation will be maintained by Armed Scholars.